This is Elliot Serrano and Jose Melendez coming to you from Dreamland Comics in Schaumburg, Illinois. Thank you for joining us here on CCW TV, the Comic Culture Warrior video channel. We're just tearing through the reviews right now. You know, bam, 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 bam. Let's get another Marvel book. Because you know what, we're always ripping on Marvel, and we're called Marvel haters.
It's the fourth Marvel book in a row, man.
Fourth Marvel book in a row, and...
oh, crap.
Avengers! The Children's Crusade. Really, this should be called Young Avengers, but... right, I think because they're trying to keep everything under the Avengers banner for the purposes of sales, you know?
Maybe.
You see Avengers out there?
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point, because if they call this Young Avengers, yeah, I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that.
Or it might get confused with Avengers Academy. I don't know. Fanboy D had once said that if they had called Captain Britain and MI13 Avengers UK, people would have bought it. And you know what?
Agree with that.
I think that's what they need to do.
I totally agree with that.
Avengers UK. That would have been awesome.
And now that, you know, Wisdom is working with Steve Rogers, maybe you can say, hey, can we license the name?
Yeah, there we go.
Paul Cornell won't be around to write it, though, so I don't know how I would want to
No, I wouldn't want to read it. That's true. Unless you can get another Doctor Who writer to do it. I'd like to see Stephen Moffat do it. If you can get him.
Yeah, he's too busy.
Too busy doing cool.
What's Russell Davies doing now? Nothing.
He's doing the
he's doing Torchwood, right?
He's Torchwood in the Doctor Who movie.
Oh, they're actually doing that.
Yeah, they're doing that. All right, so we digress yet again. Avengers: The Children's Crusade #1, which is a mini-series. They might as well be calling this Young Avengers, but they're not.
And reading this synopsis page, I think somebody at Marvel has been watching our continuity bitch rants. Because there's a note right here that says, hey, assholes, this book has been in the works for months. So the work reflected and the costumes reflected in here are not what current characters look like. Captain America, Iron Man. So go fuck yourselves. And at the end of the story, you'll know where it falls in continuity. Now, alright, now if every Marvel book had this, I'd be fine with it and I would stop complaining about continuity. But it just cracks me up that in here, they specifically say in there, but it contradicts itself on the first page. Because it says here, all the Young Avengers are talking about, Wiccan is doing his interior monologue, and he says that all the stuff they went through, and then he said, since then we fought Kang the Conqueror, which was the miniseries, Superhero Civil War, which was Civil War, Secret Invasion, Siege on Asgard, which was just the siege. So this takes place after the siege. It already contradicts himself, but Captain America is Steve Rogers, and Iron Man is in his old... So why would they throw that in there? Because it already tells us where it's taking place.
I think that was Alan Heinberg himself trying to keep the story current, but I know what
you're saying. But do you understand what I'm saying? No, I mean, in the first page.
I understand exactly what you're saying.
So I'm assuming that the editor contradicted Alan Heinberg.
Or did. Can I say this? Can I say this? Because this was Alan Heinberg and Jimmy Chung on this book, and to me, if you ask me, they're the only ones who should be able to do these characters. I was very forgiving of that.
I was forgiving of that. I'm actually more mocking it.
Right.
Than actually complaining about it.
Because I was looking at it, I'm going, oh, look, that is right. That is the old Iron Man and the old Captain America. And don't get me wrong, I mean...
But if you want to say, by the end of the story, you'll know where it falls in continuity, Heinberg should have just maybe taken that block of
or something out.
Just taking that out, so he wouldn't actually place where the story is at.
I bet you that bit with the editor was like a last minute thing before it went to print.
Maybe.
But again, I find that amusing, and thank you to the editor, Lauren Sankovic or Tom Brevoort. I know it wasn't Brevoort. It had to be Lauren. Thank you, Lauren, for considering us who worry about those things. So, anyway, back to the story. This is, it's nice to see these characters back again by this team. I mean, mind you, it's not like the Young Avengers weren't around. You had the Young Avengers Runaways, Secret Invasion, Team Up. They've shown up, but by other creative teams. And it wasn't...
And well, Paul Cornell wrote them last in the Young Avengers Dark Reign, where they met up with the evil...
The Dark Young Avengers.
The Dark Young Avengers. And that was actually pretty decent.
But to see them again and to see, you know, this team back together is very nice. Jimmy Chung has to be one of the best artists right now in the Marvel stable.
I agree.
They really, I sure hope they don't lose him to DC for something, because all his work right now is just stellar stuff.
When it comes to when he actually does do something.
Really. We start off with the Young Avengers taking down some radical religious cult that's going to set off a bomb in the middle of Manhattan. And you have
actually they're white
Heinberg,
supremacists.
White supremacists, but they're quoting the Bible and crap like that, which is
like most white supremacists.
Most white supremacists.
I'm assuming.
Is Alan Heinberg kind of giving a little commentary on those type of folk? And you know what? He makes some good points. Then you have the whole thing where Wiccan is exhibiting power levels that are just plain scary.
Mm-hmm.
And like a typical teenager, he, doesn't want people telling him what to do. It gets into the Avengers telling, Wiccan, hey, we knew that, we've encountered this before. The Scarlet Witch, and they're relating back to House of M, Scarlet Witch had the same kind of power and was able to do a lot of damage. So we want to see if we can help you so that we can avoid history repeating itself.
And Wiccan believes himself to be one of the lost children.
One of the lost children. What's explained here, and I like how Heinberg kind of says it, he goes, Wiccan and Speed they know their biological parents.
And they're almost identical twins.
Almost identical twins. But he says that he's not so much the Scarlet Witch's biological child, because, let's face it, Scarlet Witch couldn't have children. Right. She was married to the Vision.
Yeah, right. I was remembering it. Weren't they just figments of her imagination?
Yeah, she created them.
She created them, right?
But that their souls, the living essences, went into them.
Yeah.
Really clever. A real interesting take. And what's even more interesting about this is now Heinberg wants to take on the issue of what the Scarlet Witch did. Was she wholly responsible for what happened with House of M? And Wiccan says, how do you know that somebody or something wasn't controlling her or was really responsible, while the rest of the Avengers think, yes, the Scarlet Witch was, and she just went off the deep end and, did all these things, that almost, wiping out the mutant race. And this whole thing where
to me, this is just another person having to clean up Bendis's mess.
Yeah, kind of. I will take issue with one thing. This whole thing about the mutants, like if you take away their powers, that creates genocide. That's like a mutant genocide.
Yeah, she didn't really. I mean, she did kill a couple people, because they talk about. I mean, she did kill
well,
Hawkeye. Hawkeye's back alive, and she killed the other Ant-Man, which is Statur's father. In like that Avengers disassembled stuff. Right,
but by getting rid of all the mutants, the millions and millions of mutants' powers, she didn't kill them. So I take issue with that. That ridicules. I mean, okay, so if you take away the sight of a million people, is that committing genocide? That's really not, Or they're saying, well, it was what made them mutants. Okay, if someone took away the skin color of all African Americans, is that genocide? I find that kind of a ridiculous argument. Back to this, Heinberg is going to take on the issue of the Scarlet Witch and what her status quo is and what's going on with her. Like you said, maybe dealing with the Bendis plot. I'm wondering if Marvel is going to let him follow through and actually do something with it.
It would be nice, because at first we thought that Dan Slott was going to do something with it when the Scarlet Witch was in Mighty Avengers, but then we found out later that in that first issue that it was Loki.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the Scarlet Witch, because we were kind of like, oh, finally, someone doing something. That didn't pan out. So hopefully something pans out with this.
I'd like to see something come of it, for sure. The Scarlet Witch has been gone for a while, and yeah, that is one of the biggest dangling plot threads. Another thing, Bendis had Clint Barton find the Scarlet Witch, like in Wondergore, slept with her, fell in love with her, and then disappeared, and then since then, nothing's been said of it. I was like, huh?
And now he's with Mockingbird.
Yeah, but still, God. I'm wondering if, again, will Heinberg be able to deal with that and resolve that is my question. Beyond that,
that was a pretty solid first issue.
Really solid.
And a good ending.
And a really cool ending.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, $3.99 cover. But this is one of those cases where
it's one of those cases where it was top-notch work on here, and I'm not going to complain. And plus, this book's one of the other reasons why I love $3.99 site is because I think this book is bi-monthly, so I'm not paying $3.99 every month for this book. But I mean, this Jimmy Chung's like this artwork alone is worth $3.99. I know we've said that a couple of times, but this artwork is fucking beautiful.
It is beautiful.
And Heinberg, actually, this is probably one of the strongest single issues that he's written.
Heinberg, it shows that he is a solid.
He knows
solid
his characters. I mean, obviously he created the characters, but yeah, he just again, this just goes back to writers writing characters and not making them all sound the same. Every character has his own individual voice. We talk ad nauseum about how much we love that because that's how most comics should be if they're team books. So I don't know, it's a solid team book.
Very solid. Little continuity, costume nitpicks aside, any book that gives me 22 pages of Jimmy Chung artwork is worth the cover price. All right, when we come back, we're going to let's jump into the DC universe. We've been really Marvel heavy, so let's talk about DC and see what they say, see what it is. See you then.